Okay.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our channel, which is dedicated to creating valuable and unique content for all those mindful leaders who wish to create a life full of abundance and well being. Leadership is all about taking charge of your standards and claiming to create inspiration. My name is Karuna Ahuja, your host for today. I have with me one such leader who has taken charge of his life in all aspects. And let me welcome Binu Prasad. He is a contemporary HR and training leader who believes strongly in being human as a virtue and believes in selfless acts. He has 27 years of experience in the hospitality industry. Love and compassion has been his success principle. He has an intuitive mind. He is a yogi and a meditator. He views life spiritually. So there is so much I can keep going on and talking about him. But let me welcome Binu again and ask you more questions while we go through the process. Welcome to the channel.
Namaste, Namaste, Karuna. Thank you so much. Wonderful. See, I mean, when you talk so much about a person, what affects it gives in the person it really actually gives a boost to the ego. And I prefer not to get that, that ego being carried away. I prefer to actually be more humble and be down to earth and feel that we all belong to this mother earth, and we are nothing. I think with that thing in my mind, I would be able to actually take this conversation much better than being regarded as a leader or a great leader, having spent 27 years. uh, all these frills actually puts a lot of stuff into the ego. So I'm going to get that out of me, and then
Guys, he's just being very
talk.
humble, let me tell you.
I'm just trying to realize. I'm just trying to realize that we are nothing. I happened to read something that very recently. We came from nothing, or we came from nowhere to now here,
That's
and
an interesting concept.
going to nowhere. So it's the same, nowhere. We came from nowhere to now here, and going to nowhere. And once you understand this principle of from nowhere to now here to nowhere, we feel that we are nothing. And that kind of makes our life more meaningful and more mindful and more conscious every time when we're dealing with anybody, any situations or people, whether it is in the organization, whether it is in your daily life, outside the organization, outside your work. As long as you understand that you're nothing, your whole behavior pattern changes towards situations and the people around you.
Very interesting thought, Binu, and thank you for starting this conversation with that thought. And I still believe you're being very humble. There's
Wisdom,
so much,
wisdom is a gift of universe. It just comes in.
there is so much to learn from you. Let me tell you, and let us move ahead and ask you more questions.
Please.
Tell us more about how your corporate journey has been and how you have evolved to become the person that you are with spirituality that you explored over these years. Were you spiritual like that always, or did you develop that over a period of time? So, share with us more about your corporate journey and how you evolved to become the one you are right
Well, interesting question, Karuna. Just to tell about myself, where I spiritual all the time, all the while. Well, we all learn spirituality a lot from our surroundings and our parents and our culture. So I was guided a lot by my culture, However, knowing the unknown came into my life in 2016. Certain things are designed by the universe to be that way. I mean, it needs a calling. So the calling actually happened in 2016. By then, I had already reached a level at the corporate level. I actually grew from the lower rank. I even started working as a waiter. So when I was actually studying hotel management, I was simultaneously working in a restaurant near to my college as a waiter. So I used to work in the morning time, daytime, and I used to work in the evening time as a waiter. I really enjoyed my work because the whole days of the college never tired me when I was doing the waiting job in the evening till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the night. And I learned something from it that work is not work. You consider work as part of your life, and you're living that, you will enjoy it. And you also derive a lot of enjoyment by making others happy, by seeing others happy. And that's something probably led me into training and to human resources. So I didn't learn human resources as a course, as an education. I learned hotel management as an education. Then I got into human resources. Then I got into training. So when I actually journeyed my career, I was all out to achieve and achieve and achieve. So it was only achievement, hard work, commitment to every promises that you give it to your, seniors, your organization. That actually took me to various levels in the organization, and I grew up in the corporate ladder. I reached a level where I'm currently handling the corporate HR, support functions, strategic HR, and also a lot of other shared services at an investment company in Dubai now. 40. Are you there, Karuna? Hello, Karuna, are you there? Hello, Karuna, are you there? I think I've lost you. Hello, 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 hello.
I did. Hello. Yeah, there was a power cut. So you can join in now. I'm back. Yeah. I can join. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. I think we can cut that video from there. So you were talking about you moved into corporate HR.
Yes, I moved into corporate HR. I grew up the ladder, Karuna, and it's a great journey that I had, and I've learned a lot from multicultural environment. So I've worked with different nationalities. So it gave me a lot of insight into how people behave, how people are, and how people relationships should be. So handling a trade union back in India, to handling a very young crowd in another organization, and then moving into a multicultural environment in international market, uh, dealing with a lot of different kind of nationalities, and understanding their way of behavior, understanding their culture. It's kind of taught me a lot. Um, And having reached the corporate ladder and at the age of, I'm 47 now. And with this experience, I feel that what's more, see, I mean, there's something which comes to my mind that in life, everyone goes through different stages. The first stage is, survival stage. And then there is another stage called growth. And there's another stage called contribution. So a lot of people are mostly stuck on the growth stage because survival stage is mostly taken care of. And in current scenarios of the world and the way the world is, survival is actually not a painful thing these days. So it's taken care of because of the advancement that the world has had. However, growth is a stage where most people are stuck. Because if you notice, a lot of youngsters, they are mostly stuck on growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. And their focus is a lot on how do I grow, how do I grow, how do I grow, and how do I grow more. Very rarely people actually surpass that stage of growth and then move into a contributory stage.
Mm.
Now, I was quite lucky to get that calling in 2016, wherein I started feeling that while growth is enough, all right, I think it's more important to contribute now. And as you contribute, there is definitely a growth that happens, but that's not your focus. Your focus is more of a contribution. How
Mm.
do I contribute? Now, when you switch your thought process from growing to contribution, there's a lot of difference that happens in your daily behavior towards people, towards situations, towards everything that is happening around you in your life.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've realized that, and that's the stage that I am in now at the moment.
Okay, okay. Sounds interesting.
You can
And
call it spirituality.
yeah, I would like to know a bit about while you were growing through your corporate experience, what kept you going? Were there some thoughts that consistently helped you kind of sustain as you were growing? And also, while you shifted from the growth phase to a contribution phase, um, how did you realize that? I mean, was there like an awakening happened, or other changes that you start seeing yourself that made you realize that, okay, I now feel that I need to start contributing? What made you kind of come to at that point?
Well, is that an awakening? Yes, to some extent, yes, it was. It was an awakening. I mean, not everybody can be a Babaji, or not everybody can be a. I'm sure you know about Babaji. Um, not everybody can be a Sadguru. Not everybody can. Some people are gifted, and the universe has actually graced them with that awakening at a much younger age. But for some people, it happens through experiences, and it happens when you start looking at your consciousness into an expanded consciousness. So when you start see that there is a narrowed consciousness and expanded consciousness. Narrowed consciousness is mostly with people who are materialistic and who are living for their car, for their home, their job, their wife, their husband, their children, their clothes, their food, their lifestyle. So these are all narrowed consciousness. There's nothing wrong in living in a consciousness state of being narrowed, because that's materialistic. When you actually expand your consciousness, nothing becomes important to you. It doesn't matter whether you're carrying a Samsung phone or an iPhone phone. It doesn't matter to you. It,
Mm.
you know this happens when your consciousness actually moves from a narrowed consciousness to an expanded consciousness. Now,
Yeah.
this perhaps happened to me again in 2016, when I actually got into Isha, inner engineering in Isha in Coimbatore. Again, this happened to me all of a sudden. It was again a calling. I missed the session twice, the introductory session. I and it just landed onto my email all of a sudden one fine morning, and it caught your attention. You know, sometimes some things happen in your life without you even seeking for it.
Mm.
Sometimes Sometimes it just happens. It just happens without even seeking. Let me tell you that. I mean, when we met first when I was interviewing you, right? Okay.
Yes.
You were a candidate. I never selected you.
Yeah.
It never worked out, right? So we never worked together. But then the connection continued, and that connect is not because of our efforts, but it is designed to be that way.
Yeah.
It is designed to be that way. So certain things happen in life by the universe's design. So it happened to me in 2016 to get into that, and I went through and I lived in the ashram for about 4 days, and that was an awakening. Since then, things
Wow.
started changing. Since then, I started looking at things in a very different manner. I started feeling that, this the concept of letting go. The concept of letting go
Mm.
is very, very difficult for people who are living in this current materialistic world. But the moment you realize that even the body that you carry is not yours,
Mm.
it's not yours. It's an accumulation of all the resources around you. This
Yeah, the Panch Tattva, that the way we talk about that, right?
exactly. I mean, you're actually soil. You're a product of soil. So once you realize all these things, and once you know that, I mean, once you start visualizing death, real death, when you start visualizing death, you realize that letting go can be much more easier.
Mm.
I
Very,
mean,
very powerful.
it is a different state of mind
Yeah.
itself, and you reach to that state once you practice a lot of meditation. I mean, for people who doesn't get that once directly from the universe straight onto your crown chakra, some people have to really work on it because of the blockage of energy channels that you have. So I actually do a lot of meditations. I do meditations every day. I do a kriya every morning. My morning starts with a kriya. My morning starts um, mostly at about 3:30 to 4 o'clock, and
Mm.
that's a time called Brahma Muhurta. You call that time as a Brahma Muhurta, and that's a time that everybody else is sleeping and you are awake. And when you are awake, if if the universe has to deliver the grace through Amazon, and if Amazon has to deliver only to one person or very few people, where the rest of the world is sleeping, the delivery is much faster. So,
Yeah.
so,
Very interesting. Very interesting analogy to bring that
so,
there. I also remember you telling me that you follow and have researched a lot about work of Dr. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Wayne Dyer, Dr. Joe Dispenza, and as well. So tell us more about a few learnings that you use right now from there in your corporate experience. How do you bring all of that to your work that you do?
oh yes. See, I mean, if I really look at my own corporate life, the way I used to be, I mean, the times when I interviewed you in
Yeah,
2011,
long, long back.
2010 or 11 or something, I was a very different person. I was more of a terror to people. As a leader, I was more of a terror to people. But then today I'm very different because I feel that screaming and shouting or raising your voice to your subordinates or being too a nasty boss, it's not the way of getting things done. I started
Mm.
understanding from all these scriptures of Dr. Wayne Dyer and then Depani and Dr. Joe Dispenza and Dr. Bruce Lipton. Dr. Bruce Lipton is a lot about, um, uh, he's a etymologist. He's a biology
Mm.
professor and scientist. But he talks a lot about biology and cells and all that stuff. But then he connects that with the behavior patterns. But I kind of felt that leadership. There is a difference between um, a leader and those who leads. There's a difference between a leader and the one who leads. It's very interesting, and you need to really understand this one. There's a
Very
difference
thoughtful.
there's a difference between a leader and one who leads. People always talk about the differences between a leader and a manager. No, I'm talking about there is a difference between a leader and the one who leads. Now, the difference is that a leader is someone who has power or authority. The one who leads, which is more of an action-oriented phrase, the one who leads possess inspiration. So,
Interesting.
so
Yeah.
leadership, there's a difference between a leader and
Are you there?
hello. I'm there. I think
Yeah, are you there?
the internet
Okay,
connection is
yeah.
unstable.
We were talking about, yeah, that's okay. I'll cut it off. So you were talking about leader and the one who leads, and there is a difference between that two.
Right. You know, sometimes the internet connection is it just goes off by design. Anyway, so the difference between a leader and the leader and the one who leads is that the leader is one who possesses power and authority, power or authority. The one who leads, he possesses inspiration. He has inspiration in him. So if you understand the difference of power, authority, and inspiration, your leadership style changes.
Very powerful. That's a very powerful
So I had been into
statement.
both. I'd been into both the levels, and I realized that see there's a circle. There's a circle which you need to understand. There are three levels in a circle. The center of the circle, if you draw one circle and then a circle around that, another circle around that, and if you draw this and you put in the center circle the word why, and the outer circle of this that small circle you put the word how, and the exterior circle you put the word as what. Now, what, how, and why. Okay, why is a center, the exterior one is how, and the extreme exterior circle is what. This is one best way to understand even leadership and even human behavior. I use this one and this principle quite a lot while I'm dealing with people, especially the subordinates.
Interesting.
Most of the leaders actually work from outside to inside. They are more focused on what and how rather than why.
Yeah.
But your people, whether it is your customers or whether it is your clients, whether it is your subordinates, whether it is your team members or your employees or your colleagues, they need to understand why you do what you do rather than what you do. So if you're able to communicate to your people down the line on why you do what you do, that's inspiration.
That's inspiration. So true.
The,
That's
the, buy,
true.
the buy-in from a customer or a client or an employee happens more when you tell them why and not what or how.
Yeah. And there is a lot of research around it. If you pick up, HR studies happened by corporates, you find that a lot of people say that they leave jobs because of their bosses and not because of anything else. So, what's your take on that? When you give us the statement, I mean, there would be some thought around that as well.
Oh, yes, I remember, I think in 2013 or 14, 2013, in fact, I wrote a blog on this.
Oh, is it?
It's there in my LinkedIn. I think
Okay.
it's there in my LinkedIn. It was 2013 or something. That's when I was actually working with the boss who I wanted to leave.
Okay.
So I mean, to me, when I look back, that all these are learnings, and you really feel
Of
that.
course.
See, I mean, you need to work with someone who is very inspiring.
Mm.
If you are working with someone who's not inspiring, then your productivity is totally, literally affected. It is affected to a lot, that you are not able to perform. You don't, and you have all health issues, you have your psychological issues, you have more stress. It's not that you're not capable. Your capability gets affected, or your skill gets affected psychologically. I mean, everything about life is 80% psychology and 20% strategy. 20% the structure, or 20% whatever that you call it as the physical stuff, whereas the remaining 80% is psychology. Even in relationships, even in boss subordinate relationship, it is 80% psychology and 20% the rest of the stuff. Now, if psychology is taken care of, you will automatically inspire the person to work. But if that psychology is not taken care of, you're bound to leave that person, because you see, the brain has got three levels. The neocortex level, and then the lower level of the brain is called the neocortex level, or the Homo sapiens brain. And then there's the other two parts, which is called the limbical brain. Now, where do we operate a lot from? We operate a lot from the neurocortex, the bottom level, which only understands logic and language, and all these things, which are basically the what. Whereas the one which influences the behavior of a human being is the limbical part, the feelings, the why, um, the belief, the real emotions, because that drives the decisions of an individual. So if you really want to actually ensure that your employee stays with you, you have to actually address that, the limbical brain. Now, but if you are a person who's more of a what, I mean, not onto the limbical brain, you lose that person. You lose your employees. So people normally leave
Interesting.
people or leaders who doesn't understand the limbical brain's functioning
Mm.
in the more deeper manner. The other ways that you can talk about is that the only the difference that I talked about, the leaders and the one who leads, that is an indication of why people leave people. I've worked with all
Wow,
kinds of
that's
leaders. I've worked with all kinds of bosses. Now, see, I mean, when you work with different kinds, there are certain bosses in your mind. There are certain bosses who would never go away from your mind.
mm.
There are certain people in your life, they'll never vanish from your mind. And those were the people who you look at as idol. I mean, they look at as examples. And
Inspiration.
you try to actually have their, you get influenced by their behaviors, and you start practicing their behaviors. I mean, there were a couple of leaders who has influenced me wherever that I had worked in the past. Their actions, their way of addressing things, their way of showing concerns to you, all these things, teaches you a lesson that you could. Hello. 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 Karina, have I lost you?
This is what is called as law of attraction. When you are feeling nervous and you feel like, okay, how is it going to go? everything just conspires around it.
I guess so. I guess so. You invited it, yeah.
I invited it. Very interesting. Every day, back to back, I do so many calls, and it's rare that something like this happens. Anyway, sorry about
I
that.
think you're inviting it, yeah. Just let it go. You know, Dr. Wayne Dyer says this, that when you need to prepare for a speech, or
Uh-huh.
when you need to actually address a Zoom meeting like this, nervousness is very natural.
Uh-huh.
And the only way to get out of it is just take about 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes before the session starts, and leave yourself to the universe
Mm.
and say that I am in your hands, and may I be only guided by the grace and not by the rules.
Mm.
Now, when you do this, the confidence level automatically comes.
Yeah, I love the statement you mentioned. I let me be guided by the grace, not the rule.
Exactly,
That is
exactly.
nice.
This is one thing which I've been practicing a lot while controlling the thoughts.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it, what's the major problem that the humankind suffers? The major problem the humankind suffers today is only about their mind, because
Mm.
they just can't have their mind in one place. They just can't have their thoughts being controlled.
Mm.
So, and you have 90% of your time, your thoughts are negative. It's bound to be that way.
Yeah.
You can't escape that. You just can't escape that. So how do you ensure that? I mean, you have a better control over it, or you have a um, better supervision on that, is
Mm.
by every time when a negative thought comes in, you just talk to yourself that may I be under your grace and not under the rules.
Very interesting. I will keep that in mind going
And
forward.
then you can use some incantations, which you have learned.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so important to let go and then kind of energize yourself with the positive thoughts. And I think that works much better.
Correct.
Because first, it's important to let go. Otherwise, there'll be conflicting messages your mind is all the time giving you.
Very true. Very true. Letting go is a big thing. Huh? I mean, we can talk for hours and hours on letting go. I learned letting go, and I'm still practicing letting go, because there are a lot of times that all of us are not experts. So we all find it difficult to let go. Whether it is a letting go of a relationship, letting go of a material, letting go of a possession, letting go of money.
Mm.
Uh, the way that I found it more useful to let go is to visualize death,
Mm.
which I mentioned earlier.
Yes.
So the moment you visualize death, and you know that you are actually on your deathbed and you're lying down on the floor, and you're just becoming a part of the soil, you feel that you're becoming a part of the soil without your mobile in hand, without your gold ring in your hand, without your cosmetic stuff, without your clothes, without your nothing, none of your possessions. So if you are able to visualize that moment, you will feel that everything that you're having around is temporary. And you
So,
can get this one on a meditative mind.
yeah, and a lot of people say that, okay, meditate, focus on something. Actually, my personal opinion is that meditation is all about just letting go, not actually focusing on something and just letting the breathing happen or just kind of be there, just be there. That's what I feel personally about that.
Oh, yes, yes. It's not stopping thoughts, it's
Mm.
letting the thoughts happen,
Mm.
and let it flow, you know, let it flow. In fact, there was a 2 days webinar a couple of days back, and I couldn't attend all the webinars, but I had attended snippets of it. The webinar was about deep flow.
Uh-huh.
It's about deep flow, and a lot of speakers came. I think it had about 15 odd speakers at various intervals. and some of them are quite famous and very inspiring speakers. And
Mm.
they talked about deep flow. You know, it has to, the thoughts have to be a flow. Leave it, don't stop it, and don't judge it. The moment you try to judge the thoughts, then you are getting into a lot of negativity. But if you are able to consciously allow it to flow very deeply,
Mm.
you will find meditation happening to you.
Yeah, and we being in corporate world for such a long time, managing people, managing teams, clients, we go through so much of stress. If we do all of these practice regularly, imagine the level of clarity we will have, the level of decision making that will help us have because of so much of lightness that we will feel around ourselves.
Oh, yes, yes. In fact, if you learn about energy, if you learn about consciousness, if you learn about awareness, if you learn about the proximity of the proximity that you maintain with people, if you learn about all these things, you're actually learning about life. You're not learning the science. You're not learning the book stuff. You're not learning the management theories of
Mm.
how to handle a person, how to handle a leader, how to handle a boss. You're not learning all these things, but you're learning the subtler aspects of life, wherein you start learning about the the energy that you feel while you're actually with somebody. Like, for
Mm.
example, I had several experiences of um, senior colleagues of mine, or colleagues who are similar to my level, sometimes barge into your office with so much of anger,
Mm.
so much of anger. Now, the anger actually conceives anger. I mean, you have an anger, somebody is angry with you, and you tend to be angry with that person
Ah, that happens so much. So
very
true.
much.
Yeah.
So when people have walked into my office with so much of anguish and anger in them, the only way that I look at is that I control myself, and in terms of, I keep my patience, and I look at their eyes. I look at their eyes, and then the only thing which I tell myself is that, let me pour more and more love to them. I'm giving you more love. I'm giving you more love. Let my love flow into you. And when you say this, you can see an energy change happening there.
Wow.
Because when you say the word love, see, I mean, when you say the word hate and when you say the word love, the words have got power.
Yes, yes, they do.
I mean, the other day you were talking about the Japanese
Dr. Masaru
scientist.
Emoto, right?
Yes, 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 yes. His name is what? Imoko, right?
Dr. Masaru Emoto.
Imoto,
Talking
Imoto. Mr.
about
Imoto's water, the molecular
his
structure of the
study.
water changes based on the word that you put on the glasses, right? Love, hate, and whatever. And
That's
after a
right.
period of time, the molecular structure of the water changes because it's energy. So the words have got energy. So the moment you use these words, and whether it is internally used, the facial expression changes. And when the
Mm.
facial expression changes, the vibration changes.
Mm.
And when the vibration changes, the other person's frequency also changes. I mean, his vibration also changes. His or
Ah,
her vibration also changes. So you can see that. I mean, if you practice this in your daily life,
mm.
you will see this. You will see tremendous amount of changes in your people relationship.
Wow, that's such a powerful tip. Guys, you should be listening to this
Did I
and
say
really
something
apply.
powerful?
So beautiful, so simple, but
It's an
something which can
experience.
shift.
It's you experience it. You practice this. Just say that I love you. When somebody comes with anger,
Mm.
deep inside your mind, you just say, "My love is for you." I'm pushing my love to you. I'm giving my love to you. You say this, you will change your whole pattern of your body language changes.
Yeah. So share a little more about the fact that this we can use as individuals, someone who leads. But if I talk about leaders, where I mean somebody who has a team to manage in a company, a setup where they have people, who have to give in directions, etc. A lot of times when we look at corporate studies, it talks about that, we need to engage employees to make sure that there is retention happening, and a lot of us in corporate as leaders, we're given that kind of a task that we need to make sure that we retain our top talent. But still, being in HR, we know this, that still we lose a lot of people, good talent also. What could leaders do using these concepts that we are talking about, which could shift their perspective and can help them create a much more productive, innovative organization or a group that they are leading? Possibly by creating some action that can help them um, to, maybe build an inspiring organization or a team that they are leading.
So see, there's a lot of, if I understood your question correctly, how the people who work under you, you need to actually, again, I'll go back to this why and how and what. If you are a leader who keeps telling your subordinates the why of it and not what or how,
Mm.
you're automatically creating a lot of inspiration in them.
Mm.
See, there is nothing higher than self-inspiration.
Mm.
I think we were talking once about self-inspiration. Every individual is born with something called self-inspiration. It's inside them. And if the self-inspiration, see, the word inspiration, I think I'm going a little more deeper into it. The word inspiration means in spirit.
Yes.
Now, spirit is spirit, the spirit is the divine spirit. Okay. And it also says that the spirit is in.
Mm.
So inspiration means in spirit, or the spirit is in.
Mm.
The spirit is inside you.
Yes.
So there is self-inspiration in everyone. If the self-inspiration was not there, that little cell which was there in your mom's womb, your mother's womb, wouldn't have actually made it to life.
Mm. True.
It
That's
was just a protein piece, and that protein piece had to actually get that inspiration
yeah.
for it to push itself into life.
Wow.
So there is every single individual that you're dealing with, your subordinates have self-inspiration.
Mm.
Now, those self-inspiration which they came with seem to have actually, masqueraded, or seem to have actually hidden because of the environment. The education spoils you. I tell my son that I don't want to know what you're studying. I don't even want to know how much marks have you received.
Okay.
He has complaints on me saying that, you don't even know, what are my subjects? I said, I don't want to know what your subjects are. I only want to know, are you learning to live life?
Wow. What a
That's
question
it.
to ask.
So there is, I don't put, even today, I think the 2 days back, I called him and I asked him, so when is your exam starting? So he said, my exam's finished. But I remember him telling me that, the exam is starting on 21st or 22nd or something. But then I happened to ask him, when is it starting? Even though he did tell me that the exams are on so and so date. But I don't remember because I don't want to give that much of importance to it, because I've told him that I'm more interested in you learning life. Today, education spoils you actually.
Yeah.
Education's the other day, when he was about 11 or 12 years old, I was sitting with him, and he was learning about the solar system. He was learning about sun, moon, and all that stuff. So I've told him that, I mean, your teacher is teaching you about the 9 planets and the solar system, and if they circle around and moon, all that stuff. Moon is a sub-satellite and all that kind of stuff. But do you know who put these planets in the solar system? Do you know? Do you know they're all actually revolving in certain motion, in certain finite, precision. How does that happen? It doesn't collide with each other. How? It's moving. And when it is moving, I'm sure there got to be some motor, some energy, something which is actually making the thing move. Do you know what that energy is? I think the education needs to go a little more deeper into thinking of all these things. Now, why I'm saying this is to you is that every individual has got inspiration, self-inspiration. The education, the environment, the culture, the society actually shunts that self-inspiration. So people are then finding it difficult to awaken that self-inspiration in them and search for inspiration outside.
Indeed.
Now, if you are as a leader able to actually awaken that self-inspiration, and by telling them why to do XYZ things, why do you believe in what you want them to do, or and creating that why in them, they'll be more and more inspired to do the function. Because inspiration and action and inspiration are two different things. Action, you know the results. Inspiration, you don't need to know the results. Inspiration is something which it's an urge inside. It's a deeper urge inside, and you're so much love with what you're doing. You're not so much in love with the result.
So we want them to actually create inspired action.
Exactly. So the more the people are inspired, the longer they stay with you. And there were times when, sometimes the organizations have got certain limitations where you cannot have that person grow because of the organization's limitations. Now, as a leader, the few things which I remember in my career is that I've drafted out CVs for my subordinates. I have referred them to another job. I've even driven them for an interview. I've taken them in my car and then dropped them to the interview location, waited for them to finish the interview, and then brought them back.
Wow. And why would you do that?
Why would you do that? Because you feel that, you feel that, I've done maximum for inspiring them to learn what they need to learn, and they really deserve much more than what I'm giving them now. And the momentum that they have of being inspired should not stop.
Wow. So you operated from that zone of feeling contributing rather than feeling insecure that, what if the person leaves? How will my work go ahead? It just shifts your perspective. And I think that's a very inspiring story that you've given to us. Yeah.
It does. You move out of your selflessness. I think a lot of leaders are very they're in their comfort zone, and they're very afraid when people leave. Now, when people leave, and you don't need to be afraid. People should leave by you advising them to leave. You because you feel that they should leave, not in the negative context, but in the positive context. And they should tell you that, listen, I think I've reached a saturation point. I need to move on. You become a catalyst in making the move.
Yeah.
I worked in an organization.
Yeah, and operate out of contribution.
Yes. I worked in an organization wherein, I remember, this was in 2000. Yeah, it was in 1999 and 2000, where I worked with the Oberoi Hotels, if I can take that name, and I'm very proud to take that name. I was a training manager in one of the hotels of Oberoi, and we had one of our colleague, I mean, who resigned, and he was then planning to join Jet Airways. And he finished his interview, he got his offer letter, and he's leaving. But we never used to treat our employees as, since they're leaving, so they don't, we don't show any attachment. No, I mean, most organizations do that, but we don't. We work with them till the last day of their work as if they're part of us, they're part of the family. And about 7 days before his last day at work, he met up with a bike accident, and he was hospitalized. And that would have actually stopped him from joining Jet Airways. So I remember the then general manager of mine calling up Jet Airways, telling them that, listen, this boy has got through you. He's our employee. We vouch for him, but unfortunately he met up with an accident. Can you please hold on to his offer?
Wow, that's lovely. That's so
Isn't
amazing.
it? Isn't it? Yeah. So it's. I mean, these are learnings which would never go away from your your mind. It would never. So treating the employees who leave you as your own, and going that extra mile to do that for them, being absolutely selfless, and that's that's inspiration. That's an inspiring leader. That's the difference between a leader and the one who leads.
You're walking the talk. You're not just kind of talking, but
Yes.
actually living by that, living by that
Yes.
inspired action yourself.
Correct. Correct. So
Wow,
that's.
interesting. So, share with us, Binu, on a concluding note, I would like to, let our listeners, viewers know about it more from you. Some few tips that you would like to give to these mindful leaders who are, watching this and hearing this. Um, what are some things that, as 2, 3 tips that they can carry back for becoming more successful in their work area that they are using mindfulness or spirituality as a concept?
Well, first of all, don't get into reading too much about inspiration. Don't get into reading too much about mindfulness. Try all what you need to do is, if you are into meditation, being in a meditative mind will open up the the energy of the universe to fall into you, and you will automatically become more self-realized. And the moment, and this is something which you can't gain from a book. Okay, you will get knowledge from book, uh, but the energy is different. So the moment you get that energy, and that energy can only come if you actually are practicing meditation and practicing those kriyas. Once you do that, your whole approach towards people changes. Mindfulness will come automatically. It's not something which you need to learn from a book and then practice step by step. No, mindfulness, it needs to come it needs to come very naturally. And how do you bring that very naturally is, you need to get that out of your entire biological system, your cells. How do you get that one? To by doing that, the parts of meditation, the parts of the knowing the unknown.
Letting go of your beliefs that are stuck up in your entire
Exactly,
energy.
exactly. The more you meditate, the more you love yourself, and the more you try to appreciate yourself. You feel that sometimes when you meditate, you feel that you're gone, you disappeared. If you reach that state of disappearance, then you are done. You will automatically be selfless. Self, selfishness is the opposite of is the enemy of mindfulness. You can never be mindful if you are full of self. You can never be mindful. I mean, what do you mean by mindfulness? Mindfulness is wherein your your consciousness have actually grown to a different level, higher level, where the self disappeared,
Mm.
and your existence is actually for the benefit of the people around you, benefit of the environment, benefit of the ecosystem around you. So, and that's mindfulness. I mean, see, I mean, it's like this. I mean, when you park a car in a car parking, that moment of reversing and parking the car, and if you have that thought in your mind that I parked within the line, and the car in front of me and the car behind me has got enough space for them to maneuver out of the parking. How many of us do get that thought in our mind while parking the cars? This is mindfulness. This is mindfulness. Now, this needs to come naturally. This has to come very naturally. This is just one example of mindfulness. Now, you don't need to practice, okay, let me be mindful with my team tomorrow onwards. No, no, it needs to come naturally. You know, when somebody is actually, you're actually traveling in an elevator, would you get out of the elevator first, or would you allow the others to get out first? This is mindfulness. Unless you are in a packed elevator and you are at the doorstep, because you have to get out first and for the others to get out. Otherwise, if it's in a, you know, how do you let, I mean, all these small things are mindfulness. You are in a busy restaurant, you see some customers standing out waiting for a table. Would you be conscious of that, and then would you eat quickly and then finish off and give the table to somebody else? That's mindfulness. You see an elderly lady, I mean, carrying two bags of, you know, full of stuff, and do you want to offer help? That's mindfulness.
So it's
So
a state of being, actually.
it's a
It's not,
state of
yeah.
being, and then it's not something which you can read from a book and then practice. No.
Yeah, so you can get insights, but insights and knowledge are only potential stuff.
Yes, yes, yes.
Only actions which are based on conscious behaviors is where inspired action will get created. If I have to put it
Absolutely,
like that.
absolutely. In spirit, the spirit inside, you have to give you the action.
Yes.
The divine spirit inside you needs to express into action. That's inspiration.
Awesome, awesome. It
Yeah.
was such a lovely conversation with you, and I just didn't realize how much of time we spent into
Pleasure is mine too.
having
Yeah. Pleasure
discussions.
is mine too. Yeah.
Lovely knowing your experiences as well as your insights, and I'm sure our viewers, our listeners are watching it, listening to it, and they would have amazing inspiration from this to become much better leaders in their lives. So with that, thank you so much.
Thank you, Karuna. Thank you.
Thank you, Binu, and really indebted for this time that you gave to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah. Namaste. Ji. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.